start.
Al, the Titans have been almost invincible here at Adelphia Coliseum, going 18-3, including the playoffs. Shannon, you guys have won the last 2 times you've played here. Do you consider this your home away from home?
No question. Melissa, first we're going to say the lip sparring is over. We've been talking about this since the last time we played them. Now it's time to put up or shut up. We came down here, we don't beat them before. They keep making all these excuses. So they're at their best, we're at our best. We got everybody, they got everybody. We'll see tonight who's for real.
You are 3 catches away from breaking your GM, Ozzie Newsome's NFL record for career receptions by a tight end. What will that mean to you?
Well, it's just going to be a culmination of 12 years of having a lot of great people around me, a lot of people believing in me, and me being able to play this game for a long time and staying very productive.
Shannon, thanks.
Thanks, Melissa.
You know, Al, I'm surprised Ozzie Newsome didn't deactivate him tonight.
There is Ozzie. He's down on the field, and he will be in a position to congratulate Sharp when he breaks the record, if indeed that's the case tonight. Danny Kite is the Ravens kickoff man. Matt Stover does their place kicking. Derek Mason is back to receive for Tennessee, and here we go on a beautiful night in Nashville with Mason taking it from the 1. And then breaking a tackle up at the 14, but nowhere to roam after that, and he's taken down by Gary Baxter. The Baltimore defense has really done a number on Eddie George. Eric Dickerson, what's been the secret? Tennessee's leading receiver makes the catch, picks up 11, and the game begins with Tennessee going to the air and picking up a first down. Now, what has Eddie George done in his last 4 regular season games against the Ravens? As you can see, 90 yards total.
And the real challenge for George is to get that mental edge back against this defense. Siragusa and Adams do such a great job of protecting middle linebacker Ray Lewis. And Lewis just loves to make that contact. Lewis has a tremendous amount of respect for Eddie George.
So they come up in the shotgun now. And McNair on first down throws, and that catch is made by Kevin Dyson. And Dyson takes it out to the 36-yard line, and that should be another first down. Let's take a look at the Titan offense.
Steve McNair, Alcorn State. Eddie George, Ohio State University.
Derek Mason, Michigan State University. Kevin Dyson, University of Utah.
Drew Bennett, UCLA. Frank Wycheck, University of Maryland. Brad Hopkins, University of Illinois.
Zach Pillar, University of Florida.
Bruce Matthews, USC.
Benji Olsen, University of Washington.
Fred Miller, Baylor University.
And now the first run of the night is Eddie George to the outside, and he moves up to the 38-yard line for a gain of a couple. Tackled by the cornerback, Chris McAllister.
Well, we're seeing the Titans come out in the shotgun formation. Mike Heimerdinger, their offensive coordinator, said they're going to lean heavily on the pass tonight. McNair off to a good start hitting his first 2, and that was a positive run for Eddie George. Although he only gained 2, maybe 3 yards at the most, it was down the field, and it was going forward when he was tackled.
Eddie George coming into the game unbelievably, averaging just 2.7 yards per carry. Second down and 8. And now it's George on a draw. Had a little bit of room at the outset, then tackled at the 42. The Baltimore defense so dominant last year, here they are.
Rob Burnett, Syracuse University. Sam Adams, Texas A&M University.
Tony Siragusa, Pitt. Michael McCrary, Wake Forest University.
Peter Boulware, Florida State University.
Ray Lewis, University of Miami.
Jamie Sharper, University
of Virginia.
Dwayne Starks, University of Miami.
Chris McAllister, University of Arizona. Corey Harris, Vanderbilt University. Rod Woodson, Purdue University.
The Goose from Pitt. Third down and 5. McNair, and that pass is incomplete. A high pass intended for Kevin Dyson, and McNair hits the turf.
Well, one of the things that McNair did last week against Jacksonville that opened this offense up a little bit was that he started running again. And I think that, you know, it's with McNabb, too, in Philadelphia. You've got to let these guys run. You can't take that threat away.
That's a big part of their plan tonight, is to have him run more, but more just on plain instinct rather than calling quarterback draws or rollouts.
Jermaine Lewis, one of the very best at running back punts. Craig Hentrick to send it skyward for the Titans. Good deep kick, and a deep by Lewis, and then the ball spins, but not into the end zone. But it did cross the goal line, so it is a touchback. It had spun just into the end zone before it came back out. So they'll get it at the 20. Right there, just barely. Elvis Grbac is back after missing the last 2.5 games at quarterback, and he throws, and the catch is made by Qadri Ismail, who's tackled at the 27. Let's take a look at the Baltimore offense.
Elvis Grbac, University of Michigan. Terry Allen, Clemson.
Sam Gash, Penn State Nittany Lion.
Qadri Ismail, Syracuse University.
Travis Taylor, University of Florida.
Shannon Sharp, Savannah State.
Jonathan Ogden, UCLA.
Edwin Militalo, University of Arizona.
Mike Flynn, University of Maine. Benny Anderson, Tennessee State University.
Kip Vickers, University of Miami.
And this is Obafemi Ayabendejo carrying up to the 29-yard line with the injury in preseason to Jamal Lewis. Brian Billick had to go to Terry Allen to bring in the oft-injured and much-traveled back. We'll see a lot of Jason Brookins and also Ayabendejo, who we saw just there. It's running back truly by committee at Baltimore.
And not what he wants to do, but one thing he's forced into doing because of the catastrophic injury to Jamal Lewis in preseason.
3rd down and 1. And now Grbac going deep on 3rd and 1 and intended for Shannon Sharp, and the pass is incomplete. So he tried to get Sharp one closer to Newsome going deep on 3rd and 1.
And I think Sharp's looking at the time of day clock to make sure that it's not 9:30 yet in the East Coast.
His grandmother, Mary Porter, who lives in South Carolina, she told Shannon, I'm going to bed at 9:30, hell or high water, so you got to break the record by 9:30. Right now in the East, it's about 9:16.
And they're 0 for 1, trying to get him deep with a unusual call on 3rd and 1.
Well, Shannon's making a buck. No doubt he got her a Tebow.
Here's Kyle Richardson. Almost had that one blocked, and that would have been nothing new. And it's fair caught by Derek Mason at the 25-yard line. So each team has had the ball once as the rematch gets underway at the Adelphia Coliseum. 4.5 minutes in. No score.
A veritable panorama of human idiosyncrasy tonight, Al.
Well, we're in Nashville.
Look, the bird thought he was a statue.
Well, always cleaning up the mess, right? From the 24-yard line on 1st down. This is McNair throwing over the middle, and it's caught by Derek Mason out to the 40-yard line. So Steve McNair off to a hot start, 3 out of 4, and that's on Peter Boulware, planted McNair.
Derek Mason coming off the line of scrimmage, jumping inside the coverage here. That's Chris McAllister, who usually does a lot better job as a corner, but you notice he's playing inside in the slot position. Boulware with the big shot on Steve McNair, but doesn't take him to the ground. That's how strong McNair is.
1st and 10 at the 40-yard line against the 4-man Baltimore front. Here's George. A little bit of a hole there. Takes it out to the 45-yard line. Rob Burnett trips him up, gain of 5. Next week, we go to the Metrodome in Minneapolis, where the Vikings will try to get on track. The Giants come off a win against Arizona and very much back in the NFC East hunt as they chase Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the Rams and the Patriots, a good one on ESPN Sunday night from Foxborough.
Some inner problems on the Vikings this year with Chris Carter getting a little angry, Randy Moss getting a little angry. They decided to bring Dale Carter in this week as a mediator. Who else?
2nd down and 5 from the 45-yard line as McNair is under pressure, and down he goes. Tony Siragusa, the Goose.
Wow, the Spruce Goose with that move.
Marvin Lewis, the defensive coordinator, watching his unit respond.
Yeah, and he likes the coverage he sees. Dropping into a zone, getting the pressure from 4 down linemen. Number 48 is Natkin, Brian Natkin. Wycheck going to the corner. He was covered in the zone there. And then the goose right here, number 98. Got to draw a big circle around a 340-pounder.
For the Goose, that's his first full sack since the last game of the '99 season. He had a half sack coming in this season to tonight's game. 3rd and 15 after the 10-yard sack, and McNair gets whacked as he throws and throws it away, and Stevie goes down back at the 32-yard line, hit that time by Boulware, and that time Boulware did plant them.
Yeah, he did. He got his money's worth on that one. So 3 plays in a row. Jeff Fisher sees his quarterback, who's less than 100% because of that sinus infection, did not even practice yesterday.
Well, that shot cleaned his head out, guarantee you. Boulware playing with healthy shoulders for the first time in a couple seasons, feeling his oats.
Hendrick's first punt 58 yards, but only 38 net, as it just did trickle into the end zone for a touchback. This one is a much shorter kick that Lewis will field out of bounds, and Baltimore will take over at the 28-yard line. 8:27 left in the opening quarter with no score in Nashville. You gotta love Shannon Sharp. He is a quote machine. He is hysterical. This is Jason Brookins picking up 3 out to the 32-yard line. We've got the Baltimore offense. Here's the Tennessee D.
Kevin Carter, University of Florida.
Josh Evans, University of Alabama, Birmingham, the Blazers.
Jason Fish, Stanford University.
Javon Curse, University of Florida.
Greg Favors, Mississippi State.
Frank Chamberlain, Boston College.
Eddie Robinson, Alabama State University.
Andre Dyson, University of Florida.
Samari Roll, Florida State.
Eric Morris, the Michigan State University.
Larry Phoenix, the University of Southern Mississippi.
And after you meet the defense, they stop Jason Brookins. Jason Fisk does after a minimal gain as the clock ticks down to about the halfway mark of a scoreless opening quarter.
Al, 2 noticeable deletions for that defense, Bishop and Godfrey. What do you hear about both of them? Can they go tonight?
Well, we saw Bishop in uniform, but I think he's only going to be used in emergency situations, and Godfrey had arthroscopic knee surgery earlier this week, so he's going to be limited.
Frank Chamberlain will take his place in normal down and distance, but in nickel now. The Titans come in with 5 defensive backs.
You saw Bishop on the sideline. It's 3rd down and 6. Here come the Titans, but the offensive line does its job, and Gbac's going to take off and seek the first down, and he's a little bit short of it. Javon Curse, the freak, able to run him down and force the punt.
Javon Curse does not line up in his normal position on this play. He's going to jump into the middle and come right up the middle. There he is. And now the speed of Curse chasing down Grbac before he can get to the first down. Javon Curse doesn't get a sack for that, but he does prevent the Ravens from converting on 3rd down.
And he gets Gerbac's attention with that acceleration.
4th and 2 now. Kyle Richardson to send it down to Derek Mason, who set an NFL record last year for combined yardage. From the 13, he brings it back to the 20, and that's where the Titans will set up shop for the 3rd time tonight. There's Curse in his 3rd season in the league. The freak forcing the punt. No score. Tennessee from the 20-yard line after the punt, and this is Eddie George, and it's really been that kind of a season for Eddie George, who has been absolutely unable to get on track. Of course, he got toe surgery in the offseason, and then since then, Dan, just a myriad of injuries.
Yeah, he had a left knee. We saw him injure his left quad against Pittsburgh. He's had a high ankle sprain, which is just a tough thing to get over without complete rest. But he's determined tonight. He knows the mindset he must have is this going to be a physical game. He's going to spend a lot of time in the training room tomorrow, but he's got to lay it all out on the line tonight.
Yeah, we saw him hurt in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, and they didn't know he could play against Jacksonville last week until Friday, until 48 hours before the game. McNair tries to draw Baltimore offside with a long count, but can't. And then George picks up 5, loses the ball, but the whistle had blown the play dead at the 25. Jeff Fisher took over in 1994, and since 1987, you can see that in 13 of the last 14 seasons, at least one team has reached the playoffs. after starting the season through the first 7 games below 500, and that would fit the Tennessee Titans right now with a mark of 3-4. The problem the Titans have, though, is in the 16-team AFC, 12 teams have better records than the Titans at the moment, and of course only 6 get to the playoffs. 3rd down and 5, and here's George making the catch, but Lewis is right there to prevent the first down.
Well, the Titans, along with the Ravens, both had a similar quandary. They woke up one morning and the 3 down teams in their division, the AFC Central, had gotten good all of a sudden. The Bengals, the Steelers, and the Browns.
Check out the speed of
3rd down
Ray
and
Lewis
5,
here.
and here's George.
This tackle, ball thrown behind George, so George had no chance to make yardage after the catch. Nice tackle by Lewis.
And this is already the 5th punt of the game, which is less than 11 minutes old. Craig Hentrick sending it down to Lewis, Jermaine Lewis from the 22. Good coverage by the Titans special teams unit, tackling him at the 27-yard line. 4:24 left in the opening quarter. Baltimore and Tennessee scoreless in Nashville. Grbac on first down, pressured, throws, and the pass is incomplete. Kevin Carter put the pressure on, and Grbac, who has missed the last 2.5 games because of a rib and chest injury, is slow in getting up now. And Randall Cunningham, who has guided them to wins the last 2 weeks, is the backup, and there he is.
Well, it's obvious that up front here the Titans needed a big play. They're not getting one on offense. This is as close as you can get to a home run on defense, though. Plant the other quarterback and put turf on his helmet.
Remember, he has a rib injury, makes it very difficult to breathe and to throw. He was in real pain after that hit.
2nd down and 10, and now they give it to Brookins, who swings to the outside, gets by a roll, but then he's pressured down at the 30-yard line after a gain of a couple. Jason Brookins, first-year guy, was with the Ravens last year on the practice squad, then went to Oakland for a while and to Jacksonville on their practice squad, and gets his chance now, of course, going all the way back to Jamal Lewis's injury.
Be interesting to see how Grbac throws now, because the injury is right in the middle of his chest. It's cartilage, it's not ribs, it's just separated cartilage, and you have to use your chest to bring the body forward, to bring the arm through.
3rd down and 8. Here's Grbac throwing, looks good on that one, and it's caught by Brandon Stokely, who scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Giants, tackled by Samari Roll.
Well, brought the arm through pretty nicely there, Dano.
Yeah, he did, and the offensive line did a good job of keeping that defense away from him. But a little bit of a grimace as he lets it go. The ball was thrown behind Stokely. Titans using both Kevin Carter and Javon Kearse to rush the passer right up the middle tonight.
Stokely's 14th catch of the season. Sharp, the tight end, leads the team in receptions with 41. And Grbac throws, and the catch is made out in the flat by Sam Gash, the well-traveled fullback. And he takes the ball to the Tennessee 36 for a first down.
Sam Gash never gets to carry the ball, but he is the epitome of the West Coast fullback. That was his 7th catch of the year. He's yet to carry the ball from scrimmage, but he's a great lead blocker and a dependable receiver.
Andre Dyson made the play and then was shaken up and has to come out of the game at right corner.
That puts Deron Jenkins, a former Raven, in.
And back to the ground they go on first down, and it's Jason Brookins taking the ball to the 33.
And Deron Jenkins, the Ravens obviously know all about him. They said when he comes into the game, they're going to go after him. They feel that they can use some moves and pure speed to get right by him, as they did in the first game this year.
Well, this Titans secondary is just decimated. I mean, you know, I think I'm in their dime package tonight.
Qadre Ismail got a 77-yarder against Deron Jenkins back in October.
So Matt Cavanaugh, who was also on the staff at San Francisco when Grbac was there, and that pass is incomplete. Tipped by Frank Chamberlain. So Sharp still looking for those 3 grabs, and I guess Grandma's gone to bed.
And probably not too happily either.
Maybe Shannon will wait till next week when it's a day game.
A fitful sleep. Well, the Titans would love that. You know the way he talks stuff to them. Nobody wants to give up his all-time catch here tonight.
Well, Ozzie Newsome will watch his record go down, but Ozzie building his own record right now as an executive, and he has done a tremendous job, an unheralded job, with drafting and personnel moves, and very much was instrumental in Brian Billick and the Ravens winning the Super Bowl last year. Timeout, Baltimore. Ravens took a timeout with 2:02 to go in the opening quarter prior to a 3rd down and 7. It's 3rd and 7 now, their deepest penetration, the 33, and Grbac falls down, and so it is a gift sack as Elvis loses his footing and is down at the 38-yard line. I think they're going to give Curse the sack.
Well, Freak has to beat enough triple teams to get most of his sacks. I'm sure he likes to have a gimme like that.
And you wonder the effect of that hit on Grbac earlier in the drive, and the fact also he's missed the last 2 weeks, but he does go down. Many times it's the center just stepping back on the quarterback's foot.
And now they're out of field goal range, and it's Richardson floating one that is fair caught at the 11-yard line by Derek Mason. So already 6 punts in the game with 1 minute 40 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Let's check in with Melissa Stark. Seconds into the second period. Let's take a look at the numbers through the first 15 minutes, Dan.
Well, you know why they call it football, don't you? Well, it's because we've had 8 punts, which is more than we've had first downs. Very even, as you might expect in a 0-0 game. Both defenses are pretty creative tonight.
For the 3 plays, they have the ball at a time.
Well, when you miss a block in protection, that's the look of a coach talking to somebody who missed that block. As Brookins gets an earful. Now Tennessee from the 9-yard line on 1st and 10. Start on the ground with Eddie George, and Eddie George picks up 6. Some hard running right there, tackled by Ray Lewis in the middle. Brian Billick, it's an unusual circumstance, but he joins Bill Walsh and Joe Gibbs as the only coaches to have won a Super Bowl before appearing in a Monday night game. And of course, what that tells you is that your team becomes good out of nowhere, because you wind up on Monday night because you had a good prior season. So Walsh was with the 49ers, who shocked everybody in '81, and then Gibbs won a Super Bowl when nobody expected it, and as did Billick last year. And this will be the first of 3 appearances on this package for the balance of the season for the Ravens. Eddie George that time, tackled by Ray Lewis. Well, Baltimore would have been on week 2, the postponed week after the attacks of September 11th. Would have played Minnesota in week 2. That game will now be played week 17 in January.
So we'll have crab cakes on ice in January.
We certainly will. January 7th at the stadium in Baltimore at 9 p.m.
Table for 3.
Igloo for 3.
3rd and 2 now out of the shotgun from the 17-yard line. McNair stepping out, looking for the first down, has it, slides to a halt up at the 22-yard line.
That's why George's 6-yard run on first down was so important. He picked up 2 on 2nd down, and then on this play, McNair knows that if he gets back there, doesn't like what he sees, makes a nice catch of the snap, he can take off. He knows he doesn't have to go a long way to pick up the first down. He knows he can slide and stay out of harm's way.
You can see McNair's head turn upfield. Once he does blow the pocket, he always settles for a second and looks for a receiver before he then runs. That's what makes him truly unpredictable.
And that's what drives the Ravens nuts. That's why they laid back there and let him pick up the short gain and not give up the big bomb.
Now McNair has to take a timeout. He looks at the defensive alignment, wants to go over to the sideline. Talk it over with the offensive coordinator, Mike Heimerdinger. No score early in the second in Nashville.
Maybe.
Hey.
Boy named Sue.
Music City. And the music you hear there is Bernie Kukar's whistle and the rest of his crew. Fred Miller, the tackle, moved. Full start.
71 offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
You know, Nashville's a great town. I went out for a walk today on the Vanderbilt campus.
Yep.
Got hired as head coach. Didn't want it, but what are you going to do? Woody Woodenpecker out the door.
What's your philosophy going to be? Attack defense. Right?
Like Snake Stabler, baby. Throw deep.
1st and 15 now. Here is Eddie George. Well, one thing about Tennessee is they have a mobile quarterback in Steve McNair. ED, how does that affect the Raven defense? And he is and has been since he came into the league. McNair, one of the most mobile quarterbacks. And Ray Lewis, of course, is the guy in the middle, the cement, the glue of the defense last year that was as good as any in the history of the league. 2nd down and 12. And here goes McNair, and this is what we were just talking about. And McNair then stays inbounds and seeks extra yardage as Jamie Sharper takes him down up at the 28.
Well, I think McNair's making a little statement to the Ravens. And Sharper in particular there could have easily went out of bounds, but I think he's letting them know that they're going to, well, I have to say it, buck up in their heart.
Well, one guy that always does that is Mike McCrary working at Brad Hopkins, and Brad drops a right elbow to the back of his head. Here they are. This is going to be a great matchup all game long. McNair with a nice move here to avoid the big hit and get an extra 2 yards.
3rd down, 3 now up at the 28-yard line. McNair throws, and that is caught. And when he needs a 1st down, you find the big man, and that's Frank Wycheck, who's led this team in receptions in each of the last 5 seasons and leads them again this year.
And just an option route for McNair and for Wycheck. The timing is perfect on the play. Down 3 or 4 steps outside, the ball on its way, the catch, the turn upfield. 1st down, Titans.
They can work that all night. That's like Stockton and Malone on the give and take.
1st and 10. Ravens showing blitz. Here they come. Eddie George on a run. And he can barely get on track. The ball came loose after he was down at the 38-yard line. Picked up a 3.
But in the last 2 weeks, Eddie George has fumbled twice.
Very uncharacteristic. The ball squirting out. That's the 2nd time it squirted out just after the whistle tonight.
And you can't be too careful about that because you never know when the official is going to rule that you are down before that ball does squirt out. Lewis is going for the ball. There's Jamie Sharper. Trying to hold him up is Sam Adams.
2nd and 7 now. 9.5 left in the half. McNair protected well, then throws, and it's caught by Derek Mason over the middle, and Mason takes it out to the 46-yard line and enough for a 1st down.
I'll tell you, some of the best catches being made tonight are McNair on the shotgun snaps. Those things are coming back there with some rotation on them.
Yeah, and that's Bruce Matthews is at center, playing, moving over from guard in the 1st game, but that was a nice snap with a lot of snap on it. Man.
Matthews playing in his 288th game tonight, most ever for a non-kicker in the history of the league. And that pass is tipped and almost intercepted by Dwayne Starks.
You know, I read somewhere that Fisher estimates that Bruce Matthews played over 18,000 snaps or something like that. It's unbelievable. Said his ankle was blown up the size of a cantaloupe last week. He's still out there. The guy is indefatigable.
40-year-old Bruce Matthews could be as well. When a guy's 40, of course you can say it could be his last year. Nothing official though.
He's officially day to day.
Right.
Hey, when I'm 40, you're not gonna. Wait a second, I'm 48.
2nd and 10 at the 46-yard line. And timeout is called by the Ravens defensively. You saw Adalius Thomas stand up, and one reason is they had only 10 guys on the field. So Brian Billick not happy about the fact that the Ravens have now burned a 2nd timeout in this half.
Alice Cooper.
2nd down and 10 at the 46-yard line for the Tennessee Titans after Baltimore took a Defensive timeout. McNair hangs in the pocket, throws over the middle. That's hauled in by Derek Mason, who makes the catch at the 50. Last year, the Ravens were just phenomenal. They allowed, as you can see in the third line down, 11 points per game. This year, a little bit more than that, but still, those numbers are tremendous.
You know, a lot of teams talk about wanting to crowd the line of scrimmage, play 8 men up in the box. When you got a middle linebacker like Ray Lewis, you don't have to do that. He's like another half a man. They can play zone coverages behind him as they did on that last play.
I'll tell you, against Oakland last year in particular in the playoffs, it looked like they had 15 guys on the field on every play. It was unbelievable. 3rd and 5 from the 49-yard line. And there is Mason, and he's been the go-to guy on this drive, and that's a first down. Tackled by Ray Lewis. First down, Tennessee. Check in with Melissa. He does in the rematch here right now with Tennessee, trying to take the upper hand, though, over Baltimore as Eddie George takes it to the 33, tackled by the safeties Woodson and Harris.
And that's the patient he was talking to us about, is that he knows he's going to get a couple of carries where he gets 2 or 3 yards, but if he's patient behind this offensive line and reads the cutback, the over pursuit of the linebackers, he's going to pop a big one. That was not a huge one, but it was good for 9.
Speaking of 9, that's the yard line on which Tennessee started this drive, and on 2nd and 1, that's another first down as they take it to the 31-yard line. So moving the chains, using the clock. 6:40. No touchdowns allowed by the Ravens the last 51 drives in which the opposition started inside the 9-yard line, which goes back to the 1997 season opener.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, and this man's largely responsible for it.
Nassim wishes he hit like Ray Lewis.
1st and 10 now at the 31-yard line. And here comes Lewis on a blitz, but they pick him up, and then McNair goes deep, and there's incidental contact, and Starks and Dyson fight for the ball. No flag, and it's incomplete.
Well, Dyson playing cornerback like his younger brother there, because he gave him a nice subtle nudge and then made sure that the Starks did not come down with it.
Well, Starks has given up 4 touchdown passes in the last 4 games. He plays this perfectly. Keeps Dyson from getting to the ball, and Dyson does everything possible, close to ripping Starks' head off, to prevent that interception. Fine play by Dwayne Starks.
2nd and 10. This is the 15th play of this drive. And it's a draw, but that doesn't fool anybody as George picks up only 1, and with 6 minutes to go in a rapidly moving first half. It'll be 3rd down and long.
And on this length of a drive, you're seeing the Titans on offense having success running the ball. So what does that mean for the Ravens? Defensively, they're going to bring more pressure, as they did on 1st down there, causing that incompletion. Now at 3rd and 9, the advantage goes to the Ravens defense.
3rd and 9. Titans spread it out, spreading out the Baltimore defense as well. 4-man rush, including Lewis, and then Eddie George drops it in the flat. Dwayne Starks moving up to provide the coverage, and it's 4th and 9. And how many times will you see a drive this long and you are barely in field goal range?
That's what this defense is all about. The ability to make adjustments. That ball looked like it might have been tipped. That's a flat drop. That would have been an interesting challenge for Dwayne Starks, coming up at 170 pounds, trying to stop Eddie George.
Now Joe Nedney, a 48-yard field goal attempt. Think about it, a 16-play drive, and you still have to kick a 48-yard field goal. And he doesn't. Short and wide. And so after all that, after moving from their own 9, they're going to give it back at the 38. This is Grbac now on 1st down throwing, and the catch is made by Travis Taylor, who is their #1 draft choice in 1999, and there's a flag down in what's been a relatively penalty-free game, and that's going to be roughing the passer. And Greg Favors getting into it with the Ravens here.
Yeah, Favors is mad because he's the guilty party.
Ball, 51, defense, roughing the passer. At 15 yards, the end of the run, first down.
You know, in a game like this where yardage is so precious, we just saw how difficult it was for the Titans offense. Their defense can't give up these 15-yard penalties. What's he thinking? This ball is gone. He's not even in the picture yet.
It was like World War I all the way down the field for the Titans. Trench warfare, then they give a big hunk back on a
didn't do Fisher any
bad
favor.
decision.
1st and 10 at the 40-yard line. Grbac throws, caught, slant. Qadry Ismail to the 26. So after the Titans have that long drive that nets nothing, here go the Ravens quickly down to the 26-yard line.
And this is what Billick loves to see with Elvis Grbac. The explosive type of plays, which means plays that are over 20 yards long. Because Ismail gets inside there for this first down, but Elvis looks like he shook off that injury. He's throwing in fine rhythm right now.
1st and 10 at the 26-yard line. And on the ground, losing the football and giving it up is Terry Allen. Did he get it back is the question. He did. He did. Terry Allen puts it on the ground, but there's also a flag down at the 19-yard line. Now Kukar, who started to wind the clock, has to stop it when he notices the penalty.
Heads up by Terry Allen to get on his own fumble.
And this one goes against Baltimore as Allen goes off holding his hand. Terry Allen's missed the last couple of games with an ankle injury. Meanwhile, you look at Ismail, Qadry, the younger brother of Dallas's Rocket. This is the Ravens' first penalty tonight.
It's going to be a personal foul against Ismail, working on Deron Jenkins, or working over Deron Jenkins.
Personal fall, unnecessary roughness, number 87 of the offense. 15-yard penalty, still first down.
Here they are locked up down here, man-to-man coverage. It's a running play. First he grabs the face mask, and now he just is going to punish him. Watch the fumble here. Josh Evans, number 91, is going to pop it loose right there. And then it's up for grabs, and Allen gets it.
In effect, the Ravens return the favor.
Kukar taketh away.
And Grbac gets sacked back to the 45-yard line. That's Frank Chamberlain, the middle linebacker, the guy who's playing tonight because of Randall Godfrey's injury. And that's Curse down on the grass. And a flag down as well.
Kukar and his group are going to have to take control of this game right now. This could get real ugly real fast.
Holding, number 44 offense. The penalty is declined. Second down.
They'll take the sack, and that's the first sack of Chamberlain's career. He's in his second year from Boston College.
Well, Brookins getting an earful again on the sidelines, working against Curse this time. Had no success blocking him conventionally the last time. This time he tries to pull him down. They got to get Brookins out of there. He can't pass block.
Second down and 29. They have Ian Badejo in. As Dan suggested, they leave him in to block, and he blocks Gardner, and that gives Grbac time to throw. But the defense does its job, as it's Keith Bullock, the linebacker, getting back to knock it down.
They weren't even sure Bullock was going to go tonight.
Yeah, he's got a bad ankle, but it sure doesn't look like it on this play. Watch him close the space between he and Sharp, laying out with the right hand. Beautiful play by Keith Bullock. It's a fine throw. The ball's right on the money.
So it's 3rd and 29 now at the 45-yard line. Sharp still doesn't have a catch. Grbac in the pocket, throws, and that's intercepted by Keith Bullock. So Bullock all over the place and runs it back almost to midfield.
This is a team that only has 3 interceptions all year long. Bullock picks up his first one. Back-to-back super plays by Keith Bullock in the nickel.
Bullock, their first-round draft choice last year, and looking like it.
Bullock, another great athlete who fell to the latter part of the first round of the draft, only to be picked out by the acute eye of Mr. Floyd Reese Albino.
Well, Bullock is a primetime player because his only other career interception prior to tonight was on Monday Night Football last Christmas night against Dallas, and he ran it back for a touchdown. Here's the 48-yard line. On first down, McNair floats one for a Wycheck, and that's the dangerous part about floating any pass, and Wycheck gets hammered by Corey Harris.
Let's go back and take a look at the interception by Keith Bullock. Watch the head of Bullock and Shannon Sharp here. The linebacker's taught to look back as the receiver does. Perfect job by Bullock, and the ball is right on him. Not sure what Grbac saw in this route, but watch the head here. As soon as Sharp looks for the ball, so does Bullock.
Meanwhile, the indestructible Wycheck gets banged up and has to come limping off after McNair hung him out to dry with that alley-oop on 2nd and 10. Now the pass is caught by Drew Bennett, who played some quarterback at UCLA. A receiver now with Tennessee despite wearing number 19.
I think the tight end cupboard is bare if Wycheck can't go.
Boy, he got hit in the back and it hurt his leg. Corey Harris is going to come with a big hit, and Steve McNair ought to be sending a get well card after he floats this one. Oh, looked like he came down on that leg after that big hit by Harris. Heck of an effort by Wycheck.
That was a sitter for Corey Harris.
2nd and 1, and Eddie George is able to get that one to the 41-yard line and move the chains. Very fast first half. That 8 punts in the game. Tennessee had that long drive, but then Nedney missed a 48-yard field goal, and Baltimore started rapidly on its next drive.
And you know, that analogy of the heavyweight fight is really coming true. We had a few jabs early. We've had some pretty good body blows here lately.
And Saragusa is Buster Mathis. You remember old Buster?
Of course. Of course. Knew his manager real well.
That was a big hunk of man.
First and 10 from the 41-yard line. McNair hit as he throws, and that pass is behind Derek Mason. Eddie George, we talked about him through the years against the Ravens between 96 and 98, pretty good. Then 99 and 2000, just 30 yards per game, and this year 26 in that game at Baltimore.
And you wonder about the comments that Saragusa made to Eric Dickerson about George not wanting to run the ball against this defense. He seems very determined tonight, though.
That's just hogwash. I don't think Eddie George is afraid of anybody in the league.
2nd and 10 from the 42-yard line. Eddie, not afraid of anybody right there. To the 31-yard line he goes. Tackled by Peter Boulware as we get to the 2-minute warning. And at the 2-minute warning, it's close to a first down. In fact, so close they're going to measure. We'll have the results in the final 2 minutes when we come back. No score, Nashville. On 3rd and 1, in fact, the opponents have made just 4 of 13.
And I think
league average is about 2 out of 3.
And Al, I think the Titans recognize that. They've got nickel personnel in the game, 3 wide receivers.
And Wycheck is back in the game. It's 3rd down, inches after the measurement from the 32-yard line. McNair tries to sneak it and loses the football. It's still alive, and it's picked up by Rod Woodson. And Woodson with an escort all the way down the sideline. Only one man to beat, and he just throws him to the ground, and he's in for the touchdown.
That's not an escort. That's a team photo. Everybody.
That is the 15th return touchdown of Rod Woodson's someday Hall of Fame career, someday to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. It is a 69-yard return. McNair is saying, I was down. I was down. The whistle didn't blow, It is not challengeable on the field, but upstairs they can look at it. Now the question is, and they can look at this upstairs now, it goes back to the old thing about the ground can't cause the fumble. Is he down on the ground with his knee down?
Wow. Isn't that the ground causing a fumble?
Ray Lewis had him low. Ball pops out as he hits the ground.
The other question now becomes, remember, this was 3rd down and inches. Did he get the first down?
That's an excellent point,
Well,
Al.
I'm telling you, Dan, what's going to happen here.
Reviewing the play, the quarterback elbow was on the ground with the ball, then thrown by contact.
All right, so Woodson's touchdown has gone away. Now the question is, this is going to be very interesting. Where are they going to spot the football? Because it's going to be extraordinarily close.
All right, we've got the yellow line, and we can see exactly where McNair goes down when he lost the ball.
But when
That's
Woodson,
what they're going to have to review now, exactly where the ball should be placed.
But when Woodson, all the activity shifts down to that side of the field, does somebody from the umpiring crew stay up here to keep the mark?
Well, that's why we have instant replay, and that's why they're reviewing it upstairs here.
Well, they throw the beanbag, but that's just thrown into the area, basically. You're trying to throw it as close as you can to where there's a change of possession. But now they've got to find the spot. Here's the play-by-play or the upstairs angle.
But remember also, Al, it was only 3rd down. So the Titans will have another shot at it if they don't get the first down. I think he had the first down.
Very, very close. And they're going to give him the first down. They put the ball at the 31-yard line.
Boy, and he didn't get to it either.
Not even close.
No, he got to the 32.
They put it down in a place where it made it look as if there was no controversy at all.
Man.
Titan fans love the replay.
At the 31-yard line, first down. Clock ticking, 1:30 to go. In the half, McNair under pressure. McNair throwing for the end zone and turning around and almost picking it off is Chris McAllister. Pass intended for Kevin Dyson.
Yeah, that's twice tonight that Dyson had to turn into a defensive back to prevent an interception. It's a go route again, but again, McNair is under a lot of pressure, puts the ball up for grabs to Dyson. McAllister taking away the inside, perfect technique, and then just can't come down with it. McAllister, he's got to make this catch.
Second down and 10 at the 31-yard line. Titans have 2 timeouts. Over the middle, that is caught by Eddie George. He takes it to the 22. It's going to be 3rd down and about 1.5 yards at the 22-yard line. Fisher, one eye on the clock. He knows he has 2 timeouts. Big conversion here.
He would love to have Frank Wycheck in the game. Brian Natkin has taken his place. He was on the practice squad this week.
And McNair out of the gun on 3rd down and 1. Steve throws to the outside. That's caught by Mason, and he's out of bounds at the 12-yard line. So they get the first down. They stop the clock and don't have to burn a timeout with 50 ticks.
Boy, they had the perfect route called, too, against the blitz. Mason's speed is just too much. Here he is on the inside. It's down and out. Woodson coming from a deep safety position is no match for the quickness of Derek Mason. Well, I tell you, if Titans could get a touchdown here, that would go a long way to build their confidence going in at halftime. A 14-point turnaround.
Well, the crowd's been there for him all night. This would only whet their palate more.
From the 12 on first down, McNair throws over the middle. That's caught by Mason, and he gets gang tackled at the 6-yard line. And Steve McNair will take a timeout here. So that's their second, 1 remaining.
Titans fans, don't forget to join the voice of the Titans fight team for the official Titans post-game party at the Titans end zone.
Eddie George, listen, I respect the Ravens, and I know they hit like trucks, but for Siragusa to say Eddie George is afraid is just...
hogwash.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I mean by hogwash.
No,
it's more like goose pate.
That's right. It's a lot of pate.
Pate through a goose.
Huh? That is a that is a silo of pate there.
He's not wearing rib pads either.
Ball to the 6-yard line. It's 2nd down and 4. 42 seconds left in a scoreless opening half. McNair flushed out and then just throws it out of bounds.
You know, Al, I look at Sarah Goose and it reminds me your daughter-in-law just had a baby. How's the grandkid?
Oh, Caitlin's great. Thank you.
Goose just gave me that pregnant vibe.
Yes.
Gee, last week we had a birthday boy up here, Dennis. And then this week, Melissa and Albino celebrating birthdays.
Scorpios are wild.
Look at Missy, a young sprite of 17.
Check out Derek Mason in the slot here. Been very effective.
3rd and 4. McNair looking that way. Throwing, and then it's knocked away. Trying to get it to Bennett, and Chris McAllister saves a touchdown as he breaks it up.
This is why Dwayne Starks is going to see a lot more heat in the upcoming weeks, because McAllister separating from the pack is one of the preeminent corners in the league.
Well, he's shown tremendous reaction. Bennett breaking to the back of the end zone. And McAllister again with the right hand here. This ball's got to be thrown up a little bit higher, taking advantage of Bennett being at 6'5".
Now Nedney, a 24-yard field goal attempt. He missed a 48-yarder earlier. He's missed his last 4 over the past couple of weeks. But this one is good, even though he hooked that one. And there's a flag down. And you can tell by Fisher's reaction who this call is against. And if this is a 15-yarder, it'll make it a 39-yard attempt next.
Holding, 48 offense. 10-yard penalty, still 4
Make it a 34-yarder, 10-yard holding call.
Yeah. Brian Napkin has a tough responsibility here as the wingman. Here he is right here. He's got to bump the inside guy and then try to reach out and just pulls Chris McAllister back.
Now it's a 34-yard attempt for Nedney.
Boy, and he's putting a lot of action on that ball too.
Oh yeah. And Baltimore will take a timeout to make him think about all that action he's been putting on the ball.
Well, he missed in this streak of 4 that you talked about, Al. A lot of them have been to the right where he's hooked the ball. The first one tonight, he kind of left it out to the left, almost a fade, if you will. And on that one, he hooked it again. So he's thinking, he's battling the demons in his own mind right now.
Plus, you mix in the Ravens' mojo. Opposing kickers have only made 8 out of 18 kicks against them so far this year. I think about 44%.
Well, last year, Nedney only missed 4 out of 38. He spent a short while with Denver when Jason Elam was hurt, and the rest of the year with Carolina.
Last year, the Ravens put the whammy on Del Greco.
Well, last year, Keith Washington blocked 2 of Del Greco's field goals. Check that out. Keith Washington now with Denver. This is in the playoff game. He blocks that first one, and then on the second one, Anthony Mitchell is going to pick it up and return it 90 yards for a touchdown. Now that broke a 10-10 tie. The Ravens went on to win 24-10 to advance to the AFC Championship game where they beat the Raiders. But the reason Nedney's here is because of Del Greco's problems, but those 2 blocks were not Del Greco's fault.
Well, Baltimore's been the beneficiary. I mean, think about it. Last week, Chris Brown missed 4 field goal attempts for the Steelers, and the Ravens won the game up there 13-10. Tonight, Nedney's already missed one. The one he just made goes away. Alan Lowry is the special teams coach. Fingers crossed. Hentrick will spot it at the 24. 34-yard attempt. And a high snap, and Hentrick comes up with the ball. Hentrick looking for somebody to throw it to, and they just launch a prayer into the end zone, which is occupied by only white shirts, and that's Dwayne Starks with the interception. The snap was by Bruce Matthews.
And it was a terrible snap. Hendricks had no shot at bringing this one down. Watch how high it is. He doesn't even barely get a hand on it. It's a heck of a catch by Hendricks, and you really can't blame him at this point. He's got to put it up in the air and hope that he's got a blue shirt down there.
Yeah, Hendricks stayed relatively cool there.
Starks with a gift interception.
And now Baltimore will just on a kneel down in the half, so they escape again. The third quarter, a scoreless first half. Tennessee with Nedney having a chance to give them a 3-0 lead, but then the penalty cost them 10 yards. The high snap cost them any chance for the lead, and thus we're scoreless, and Tennessee will kick off to Baltimore. Nedney sending it down to the 6-yard line. This is Jermaine Lewis, and he is taken down up at the 23-yard line by Peter Sermon. We check in with Melissa. Yeah, he had only one carry, and we saw him going off the field shaking his hand. One carry for -1. So here's a guy who missed 2 games with an ankle injury, comes back, and now he's going to be gone again. From the 22-yard line on first down, they begin with an 8-yard completion from Grbac to Travis Taylor, setting up a 2nd and 2. Let's take a look at the numbers through the first 30 minutes.
Now, it's been all defense, but the Titans offensively have moved the ball very well. We don't ever talk about the Titan defense, but they're playing like they did last year, limiting Baltimore to just 55 yards in that first half. 0 catches for Sharp, just 9 yards rushing for Brookins.
2nd and 2. Grbac throws. That catch is made by Qadry Ismail, who then loses the football. And the Tennessee Titans have recovered. Darryl Porter comes up with it after Deron Jenkins stripped him.
Now a little payback for Deron Jenkins, playing against his former mates, the Ravens. Remember, it was Ismail who was abusing Jenkins in that first half. 25 comes in, just pops the ball loose. And then it's on the ground, and there's nothing but blue shirts all around it. Big play for Deron Jenkins and a little bit payback for Ismail.
Well, the Titans couldn't ask for the platter to be set anymore. Ball at midfield, big turnover. They really need to get this down there.
Brandon Stokely over to console him. 2nd Raven turnover. Tennessee now from the 49 with McNair blocking the signals, handing the ball to Eddie George, and they start with the basics, and George picks up 6 to the 45. Let's take a look at the Tennessee start track.
I think the most significant number here is Eddie George's number. In the first half, 53 yards, halfway to 100, and with that 6-yard carry, great start in the second half for him.
You got to run right behind Matthews now. He's probably so steamed at himself about the snap, he's going to take it out on the goose, no doubt.
2nd and 4 from the 45-yard line. George, they swing him out. And he comes up a little short of the first down, run out of bounds by Alvin Porter.
But he won the Heisman Trophy, and he just gave us the Heisman Trophy move there on that run with a classic stiff arm. Watch the right hand come out, just like a jab, right there on Sharper. And that gets George within 1 yard of the first down.
I just love the fact that the ball in your offhand allows you to sucker bunch another play. It's just a beautiful concept.
3rd down and 1 from the 42-yard line. And McNair's going to throw on 3rd and 1 and throw deep on 3rd and 1, but incomplete. Intended for Bennett, who was held up by Woodson.
Boy, I don't get that call at all. Eddie George comes out and gets 9 yards and 2 carries. That offensive line's cranked up. And they go for another pass on 3rd and 1. That's twice today they've done that.
Well, there's no such thing as a pretty 3 and out, but that's a particularly painful one for the Titans there.
Well, and the other thing about going for it on 4th and 1, the Titans have had trouble doing that this year. They're only 1 out of 6 going for it on 4th downs.
Jermaine Lewis is back to receive the kick. Craig Hendrick's 5th punt of the night coming up. High floating kick, and a fair catch is called for and made at the 17. So Ismail fumbles, but it doesn't cost them. With 12:56 to go in the 3rd. 0-0 in Tennessee.
Back to defense for him.
First down at the 17-yard line. And this is Ian Badejo picking up a couple to the 19-yard line. In the middle of the year. 2nd and 8. From the 19-yard line, and throwing off his back foot is Grbac, and it is picked off by Samari Roll at the 21.
Scepter!
Well, that's something that I am sure Billick's going to take a look at, and if the guys upstairs say challenge it, you're going to see one in a second here. Take a look at this.
Well, does it hit the ground? He's got his hands under it, but it goes through and hits the ground.
Yep.
No interception.
So you know the challenge is coming here.
And there comes the red flag out from Billick. And that's why we have instant replay and the challenge.
The coaches upstairs have a monitor. They can see what's going on. Billick might have done this on his own. I don't know, somebody on the sideline might have had a good enough angle. So they will challenge this, and they will win this challenge.
I hate to break out the scepter call needlessly.
Only on the field of an interception.
No scepter.
No scepter.
And Bernie Kukar does not waste a lot of time once he puts his dome under the tent. He's in, he's out, nobody gets hurt.
I think the key thing here for the Titans is they continue to play well defensively, as they came with an all-out blitz that time, forced Grbac to throw this ball erratically and be in position to make the interception. That's a confidence builder for Jeff Fisher's defense, as they are outplaying Billick's great defense tonight.
It was 2nd down and 8, so after the Ravens win this challenge, it'll be 3rd down and 8. And this is pretty much of a no-brainer.
And the 130 does not start until Bernie takes a look at it. It's not going to take him long. Once he gets to see that ball hit the ground.
No, this is going to be a short subject.
Yeah, Bernie will tease you before he goes under the tent. Oh yeah, he'll tease you. But once he goes under, it's a quick route.
You can see Eric Morris on the safety blitz there. That forced Grbac to throw the ball early over the middle to Travis Taylor, who still doesn't have a catch yet tonight. Clearly hits the ground, though.
You know, you were talking about Terry Allen's tail of woe. It's strangely reminiscent of Blaine Bishop, who had been hurt for a while. Came in for one play against the Pittsburgh Steelers when we had him 2 weeks back. He was out with a foot injury, came in for one play and broke his hand.
Yep. And tonight he's in uniform but not playing.
And it's not the hand that's preventing him from playing, it's that sprained foot. You can play with a cast on the hand.
So it's the hand is preventing Allen and not the foot, but the foot is preventing Bishop, not the hand.
Allen's got to handle the ball. Bishop's just got to handle ball carriers.
I just like to watch your mind work.
After reviewing the play, the ball hit the ground and it's an incomplete pass.
32 seconds. Is Kukar stud?
He's quick.
In. Bam.
Took him a long time to get in, though.
Yeah.
He's known all over for that. I was in Europe this year. Kids coming up to me, asking me about Bernie Kukar's quick calls.
You just like saying Kukar, don't you? You love saying Kukar.
That's it.
Meanwhile, the overturns tonight on 2 plays have overturned 2 huge plays. One was what would have been a Woodson touchdown, and the other is this one. So what they're going to do right now is the down marker says second, but it's really third. So Kukar's got to go over this with the head linesman to go over the down, and it says 2, but it should be 3, and it will be in a second as soon as Dale Hamer and Kukar get together. That's Hamer, the head linesman.
A former referee.
Former referee. You know, they just need to get verification that it's third down, and they did. So it's third down and 8.
One guy that Grbac hasn't gone to in nickel situations is Brandon Stokely, lined up in the slot here.
Stokely's only caught 1 pass tonight, and then Grbac has that one knocked down. So that's knocked down, I think, by Joe Salavea, and it's 4th down.
Boy, what a difference 2 weeks makes for this Tennessee defense. They're putting great pressure on Grbac all night, taking him down 3 times. Salavea is number 95 right here. Watch him eye the quarterback, get that big left hand up and knock it down.
And it's all 4 of them.
And meanwhile, a snap that gets away from Richardson, who then throws, and it is caught up at the 5-yard line, but taken down is Anthony Mitchell at the 8. So the Titans wind up getting the big break they need. Joe Maisi is the snapper, and Richardson, who's had a lot of problems having punts blocked, can't handle the snap. It's a pretty good snap.
Perfect snap right in his eye level. Now he does a nice job of throwing the ball here to Anthony Mitchell. But 2 bad snaps tonight, or 1 bad snap and 1 just dropped by the punter. Special teams are rearing their ugly head tonight.
I know you were kidding earlier when you said, why do you think they call it football? But so much of this is revolved around the kicking game tonight.
Now it's the 8-yard line and 1st and goal, and they give it to Eddie George, who gets about half the distance, just inside the 5-yard line. 2nd and goal.
And when Eddie George runs like that with a low pad level, he's almost unstoppable. He will always fall forward, and as tall as he is at 6'5", falling forward gives him extra yardage.
2nd and goal now from the 5-yard line.
I gave him a couple inches there, but he sure looks 6'5", doesn't he? 6'3".
George again, and he is driven back by Michael McCrary, number 99, a guy playing in his 130th NFL game and his first on Monday Night Football.
He's just got great quickness, and everybody talks about his motor, his desire. Watch him jump to the inside here, beat Zach Pillar, push him away, and then bring down George heading backwards.
McCrary has been to a Pro Bowl, but he played with Seattle and then Baltimore at a time when the Seahawks weren't on Monday night, and this is the Ravens' first ever Monday night. 3rd down and goal from the 7-yard line. McNair, he's going to run with it, but not very far, and he gets taken down from behind by Jamie Sharper. Now Nedney's going to come out for about a 27-yard field goal.
And the drama, the excitement of these punts and field goals is almost too much for even Jeff Fisher to watch. I mean, is anybody going to score tonight?
Richardson thinking, can I get away with this one?
Well, you know, Nedney has to lock on the implacable face, but he must be really trembling inside. He's on a real bad streak here, and now the snap's not working.
27-yard attempt. Intric takes the perfect snap this time. The kick is good. There are no flags. And we have 3 points on the board. Only took 34 minutes, 47 seconds. 3-0. Stephen knows. Here's Jermaine Lewis from the 8. And Jermaine Lewis, one of the best in the league at running back, kickoffs and punts, takes it all the way inside the 20-yard line. Eddie Berlin saved a touchdown. They'll tackle him at the 17.
Lewis is such a dynamic runner. He's got great feet, but his strength in his legs is underestimated. Watch him walk through this tackle by Peter Sermon right there. Sermon at great speed. Heck of a job by Eddie Berlin to get him by a shoe, but Sermon's got to drill him there.
Yeah, 76-yard return. Longest kickoff return of his career. He's returned 6 punts for touchdowns. First down from the 16-yard line. And the ball is handed off to Ian Badejo for a gain of 2.
Finally, we get a special teams play that is truly special in the positive sense of the word.
Well, ironically, a guy named Berlin showed some pretty good north to south speed there.
Like Irving.
I think he's west.
Second and 8 from the 14. Grbac throws, and it is not caught. Incomplete, intended for Shannon Sharp, who still hasn't caught a ball tonight. Perry Phoenix breaks it up.
Boy, Perry Phoenix's timing couldn't have been better. An instant later, and Sharp pulls this one in with his great hands. And a good clean play by Perry Phoenix as Eric Morris steps in front, double teaming Shannon Sharp down by the goal line.
Third and 8 now at the 14-yard line. Grbac throws into traffic and threads it in there. He gets it into Qadry Ismail to the 5-yard line on the 1st and goal. So that quiets the crowd.
It's one of those bunch routes, Al, where they line up 3 receivers together. There is Ismail. Watch him go down and get right in the zone here. Perfect route. Grbac had a good lane to see him run that route. Threw him a perfect pass.
First and goal, they have Jason Brookins in as the tailback. They give it to him. They like to run him inside the 10, and he gets to the 3 here as Kevin Carter makes the tackle. Second and goal.
Well, you just got to feel that the Ravens have got to get something going on the ground. Grbac appears to be in rhythm. He's got the hot hand. Interesting to see if he lets him throw this one.
Chamberlain kid's done a pretty good job, Dano, stepping in for Godfrey, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been solid.
Second down and goal at the 3-yard line. Brookins taken down at the 5-yard line. That tackle is made by Eddie Robinson.
Turning the Ravens gang tackling game on them.
They're getting such great penetration. This is a quick defense that Billick's facing. Linebackers have great speed. Robinson, a real veteran. Watch him recognize the play, get by the block of Kip Vickers, and then explode into the ball carrier.
Sammy Gash didn't do much with that lead block either.
Looked a little confused, didn't he?
Third down and goal from the 7-yard line. Elvis swings it out to Ian Badejo, and he just gets hammered by Robinson, who'd been pretty silent until the last 2 plays.
Now, we saw McNair hang Frank Wycheck out to dry earlier in this game. Well, that's exactly what Elvis Grbac does on this pass. No reason to throw this ball out here with a linebacker running dead straight at your receiver.
Pretty tidy little defensive set there for the Titans.
Now Matt Stover to attempt a 31-yard field goal to tie the game. And it is just good. Just inside the upright, and now Stover's made a field goal in each of his last 35 games, the longest streak in the history of the NFL. 6:45 left in the third, 3-3 in Nashville. Here's a bouncing ball, bad kick by Danny Kite, and it's Mason who brings it back to the 29-yard line. That's where the Titans will have it with 6 minutes 36 seconds left in the third. Titans trying to get to 500. Ravens trying to go to 6-3. Locked up 3-3.
It's time for the Music City 103.
Both have performed admirably tonight. George has carried the ball 19 times for 63 yards. His long run 9 yards, which he's done on 2 separate occasions. Lewis has been in the middle of the action, as he almost always is, for the Ravens defense. And this drive starts at the 28, and the first pass from McNair is dropped by Dyson. Here's an injury update. Let's go to the field and Melissa Stark.
Well, Frank Wycheck has a sprained left ankle. Andre Dyson has a mild concussion. Both players returned to the game after suffering their injuries, but both are back out on the sideline. Their return is questionable. Drew Bennett has cramps in his calf, and he is expected to return.
Well, Wycheck is such an integral part, of course, of that offense.
Especially with Kinney down already.
2nd down and 10 from the 29-yard line. McNair thought about running. That lane was blocked, then throws, and reaching for it is Brian Netkin. So the kid who was just activated the other day and cost them a field goal with a penalty in the first half, now he's all smiles.
Free agent from UTEP led the nation as a tight end in receiving last year. This is what he does. He goes out, catches the ball. How about this for your first NFL catch? A diving beauty.
At the 44 now, first down. Eddie George, and he gets tripped up, submarining, knifing in is Lionel Dalton. Backup defensive tackle.
Well, that's the key, Al, is because they can keep those defensive tackles fresh. They can take Saragusa out and Sam Adams out, bring in Lionel Dalton and Larry Webster, not lose a whole lot, maybe a few pounds or two, but the quickness of Dalton there, just blowing up that running play, is impressive.
Goose is over there right now, just taking a gander. 2nd down and 11 from the 45. Couldn't help. 5:20 left in the third. McNair out of the gun. McNair throws a bullet, and it's caught a little bit low, but Mason goes down, reaches down, gets it, and is a little short of the first down, about a yard.
Young man, don't ever apologize to me for a goose gander double. I love that joke. I love everything about that joke.
Third down and 1 from the 35. Here's McNair throwing again, and that's caught inside the 30 for a first down by Drew Bennett.
Boy, and they're going to continue to throw on 3rd and 1. 3 times tonight. First time they've been able to connect, and the first time they didn't just put it up for grabs.
Well, that throw on 3rd one makes sense, but that deep one down the sideline doesn't.
Good timing on this pass. Bennett fighting off cramps, as Melissa talked about, to make that key 3rd down catch.
At the 27-yard line, McNair out of the shotgun. Bulware showing blitz. Here he comes around the corner, but he's taken out of the play, and McNair gets spun down like a top at the 27-yard line.
Extraordinary speed out of Sharper. Lewis, we all know about his speed. Bulware on the other side. This is really the signature of a great defense, is to have linebackers that can use their running ability to get free and make tackles, running down a very quick quarterback like Steve McNair.
The amazing thing is Lewis is so quick with those short strides. I mean, they're almost like, you know, really quick little steps, and he moves.
2nd and 10 at the 27-yard line. McNair stepping up, throws, short gain, that's caught. Mason makes the catch, and he is tackled by Carnell Lake.
I think it's one of the reasons you hardly ever see Lewis blocked off his feet, is that his feet are always so close to the ground. Little shuffle steps.
You know, he's built very similarly to Dick Butkus, I think. Huge upper body, great speed.
How's that, Harry Potter? Harry Potter!
Wrong studio.
Yeah.
3rd and 5 at the 22.
I didn't know. Just saw the round glasses.
You're a monster. Here's McNair to the end zone. Caught! Kevin Dyson for the touchdown. .22 yards, McNair to Dyson.
And when a defensive back gives you this much room, it makes it so much easier to get into your route. You're not worried about the contact getting down the field. McNair with a throwing lane, puts the ball up high. Dyson, who dropped a touchdown pass last week against Jacksonville, makes sure on that one.
Tennessee with the game's first touchdown. Dyson had one last week in the Jacksonville game. Nedney's point after is good, and with 2:29 left in the third. After a scoreless first half, after each team has kicked a field goal in the third quarter, Dyson takes it in from McNair. 10-3, Tennessee. Who will down it in the end zone. And not far from that state capitol, across the Cumberland River, Philadelphia Coliseum, home of the Titans since '99. Baltimore starts at the 20-yard line. Jason Brookins is the running back, and this play is whistled dead for a false start.
False start. 77 offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Kip Vickers.
Shannon's grandmother knew what she was doing, hitting the sack early, because I don't think he's plucked a payloader yet, Dana.
He has not caught a pass, and they will be home next week, play a day game against Cleveland.
Well, he's going to catch heck, too.
Yeah.
He doesn't get 3 tonight from her.
Grandma's going to say, you got blanked? Here's Brookins. Picks up 7 up to the 22-yard line. Bud Adams, the owner.
That's Bud's real hair, though.
Yes, it is. Second down and 9. And that catch is made by Qadry Ismail. Bud Adams, when you think about it, Bud is one of the original American Football League owners. He brought the Houston Oilers into the AFL. And think about this. Ralph Wilson was the original owner of the Buffalo Bills. Lamar Hunt. So 3 of the 8 original AFL owners still alive, still in great health. And here we are 42 seasons later. Javon Curse in the game, first and 10 at the 32-yard line. And that is Jason Brookins for a gain of 2 to the field in Melissa.
Al, you guys were talking about Brian Billick earlier. Well, he is without question the most computer-savvy coach in the NFL. He started writing his own computer programs on football in the early 80s. When he took over the Ravens, he made sure his entire coaching staff knew how to use computers. Marvin Lewis told me, well, I knew how to turn one on, but that's about it. Now he can't even imagine life without his PowerPoint and spreadsheets. He says it cuts his time spent on paperwork in half. And Billick predicts his players will be able to take home game plans on CD-ROM instead of their thick binders as early as next year.
Here's Brookins. I'm going day trading with him tomorrow.
Coach, the dog ate my playbook.
Matt Cavanaugh alongside. Elvis enjoys this relationship with Matt Cavanaugh and Brian Billick. He worked with Matt in San Francisco when they were both with the 49ers.
First and 10 up at the 43-yard line. Grbac throws. That is caught. Ismail stepping out of a tackle inside the Tennessee 40. And Ismail all the way down the sideline for a touchdown. Shannon Sharp may not have caught a pass tonight, but he just threw a magnificent block to spring him on a 57-yard touchdown.
A 10-yard reception when he caught the ball, crossed the field, and then got that great block from Sharp.
That's classic old 49er stuff there, that John Taylor sort of acceleration from the short catch.
That's a good point there. What speed by the missile.
80-yard drive, took him only 5 plays. Sharp the block, Ismail the touchdown, and now the point after to tie the game.
Cadre had a cadre of blockers there, as it were.
Here's Stover. Richardson puts it down. And even the extra points were a little dramatic.
Pretty good example of why they're the defending Super Bowl champs. Everybody pitching in. This is a great drive for the Ravens. Simple route, pushes off just a little bit on Jenkins, and now the speed. And I think right about here he sees Sharp coming. He's going to set this block up right about there. Oh man, you talk about a deep leader. And then it's all the way down the sideline, but making the extra play, Shannon Sharp coming back with the super effort.
Well, it's the whole resume too, Dan. The strength to break away from the defender, and then the speed to accelerate out of heavy danger.
He had a 77-yarder in game 1 back in October. Let's check out this block now. Here's Sharp coming from the left side, and that is a career hit on Perry Phoenix.
Perry Phoenix came flying in like a Batman villain. You know, we thought somebody's brother would be standing up at home at Bullion tonight. I thought it would be Sterling Sharp, but I guess it's Raghib standing up for his brother.
Start the 4th quarter. Al Michaels, Dan Fouts, Dennis Miller, Eric Dickerson, Melissa Stark. Nashville, game tied. First down for the Titans at their own 21-yard line as Eddie George begins the final stanza with a 3-yard pickup.
They call him the missile, much like his brother is the Rock. Shannon Sharp with a legal and lethal block on Perry Phoenix.
By the time he got to Phoenix, Ismail was gone. 2nd down and 7 at the 24-yard line. As McNair throws and Eddie George reaches up, and he could probably hear and feel Peter Boulware.
Well, guys, if this is a heavyweight fight, we saw the jab at the beginning. We're seeing some thudding botting shots here in the middle round. We'll see who has to lower their guard, catch the knockout punch.
How about a chop block against the Titans?
Wow. I see Dan Neal had to file Chapter 11 yesterday. They're hitting him hard.
How about Ray Lewis with his arm around Bernie? How about that?
Now that they're looking at what the options are here, whether they want to accept the penalty or take the play.
Personal foul, chop block. 74, 75 of the offense. At the distance to the goal, still 2nd down.
So the choice was, do you want it to be 2nd down and it's going to be about 20, or 3rd and 6?
Watch Bruce Matthews here come back and help. And then as Benji Olsen makes contact, they called that on Bruce Matthews. But really it's on Benji Olsen because Matthews he was the first to him.
2nd down and 19 after the half. This is penalty, and it's coughed up by Eddie George. And it looked like Boulware got the football. Baltimore has it. And Eddie George, we mentioned it earlier, had 2 near fumbles. Twice he went down, and the whistle blew just as he got to the ground. And he was very close to fumbling, and now he coughs one up clearly.
You just wonder about his head. The pass on the previous play he dropped, and now on this draw play, Jamie Sharper, and it looks like Ray Lewis punches it out. Watch Lewis there with the left hand, and again Ray Lewis makes a play on Eddie George.
So it's first down now at the 18-yard line as Grbac throws for the end zone too high. Brandon Stokely, the intended receiver, covered by Phoenix. So Ray Lewis punching it out. The ball recovered by the Ravens, and a huge break for them early in the fourth. Eddie George has now fumbled 3 times in his last 4 games.
After the touchdown reception by Dyson, it was just like a brand new team for Baltimore. 80 yards they went in just 5 plays. Got the great play by Ishmael. Now that defense is taking over. Elvis now inside the red zone.
To the outside goes Grbac. Blanket coverage that time to Ron Jenkins all over Travis Taylor.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, everybody has to own their own fumbles, but that last one was a pretty slick punch out by Lewis. He got heavy wood on that one.
Yeah, but you're in traffic, and Eddie just doesn't fumble. Lewis is always punching, as is Sharper. We saw him punch one out earlier. Just got to be able to cover up with both arms, and he's got the arms to do it with.
3rd down and 10 from the 18. Ian Badejo takes the ball to the 15-yard line, and now upcoming will be about a 33-yard field goal attempt for Stover.
A very conservative call there on 3rd and 10 for Billick. I think he's just playing to get the lead right now.
Billick talking to Taylor about the earlier route.
When you have a defense like Billick has, these 3 points are huge.
Ball will be spotted at the 23, a 33-yard attempt to give Baltimore its first lead, and it is good.
It was another quasi-adventurous snap.
So Lewis forces the fumble, sets up the tray, gets a bump from Siragusa. That's a bump and a half.
You think of Cleveland, you're looking for names like Lenny Moore or Luke Rose, Jim Brown, anybody from any.
Holly wants something else in a few minutes.
And it ain't Junior.
Right.
It's the senior mint.
Here's Danny Kite to kick off. Derek Mason from the goal line. Out to the 22.
Well, you don't want to see your kickoff returner taking a knee.
George Henshaw, assistant head coach, sending Steve McNair out.
And what he's telling him is that you've got 3 timeouts to work. You've got 78 yards to go, and you're going to start throwing the ball. We could probably put him in shotgun formation, bring in 3 or 4 wide receivers. Another killer injury, though, as Derek Mason comes limping off the field. Wycheck is out. Now Mason out. McNair's 2 main weapons.
Yeah, Mason got hurt on the return, so that's why he came out. Bennett and Berlin are in as 2 of the receivers along with Dyson. And McNair is under pressure, avoids a sack. He's going to take off. Little spin move there before Ray Lewis knocks him down at the 25. All that for a gain of...
First down, Ravens.
Looked odd the way Mason went down there on that kickoff return. As it turns out, he chinked his knee up a little.
You look at the receivers that McNair has to work with right now. Last year at this time, none of them were playing. Dyson was out. Berlin, Bennett, and Natkin. Come on.
2nd down and 6 at the 26. McNair. Deep over Dyson. Dyson actually had position inside of Dwayne Starks, but the ball thrown over his head.
Well, every time he's going back, he's got to pretend he's Houdini just to get out of the pass rush. He escaped that time, and then was just so hyped up about it, he overthrew Dyson by 10 yards. But he's got to go to Dyson. He's the only guy he can count on right now. He's the only guy he's familiar with.
3rd down and 6. He splits Dyson to the right. Operates from the gun. Have to get to the 32 for the first. Throws to the outside.
Great catch.
Pulled in by Dyson. Great grab. First down.
The word great is so overused, but this really is. The route is perfect. Square, the catch, unbelievable. As he stops it with one hand and pulls it back to his body. Big play by Kevin Dyson.
Huge. First down, out of bounds. Stops the clock, saves a timeout. First and 10. Mason back in the game. Operating from the slot, going over the middle. McNair under pressure. McNair gets taken down, then gets rid of the ball, but just threw it away, flung it away. Peter Boulware will get credit for the sack.
Yeah, they're going to call him in the grass before he could get rid of that one. Boulware's having a heck of a night, too. This pass rush, Sharper and Boulware have just been awesome.
And McNair comes up limping.
There's Boulware, 58, spinning away from Fred Miller, hunting down the quarterback and taking him down.
2-minute warning.
My dad wasn't one of them.
Yeah, he has such a feel, he and the quarterback, for each other, especially in these situations where the Ravens are going to be in zone defense. That's where Wycheck really operates so well.
Second and 16 now from the 30-yard line. McNair throwing. It is caught. It is Mason making the catch. He came back in the play before the 2-minute warning. Gets up at the 36, tackled by Corey Harris.
There's really not a sense of urgency for the Titans. They're running out of time. They got a lot of yards to go.
Third down and 10. They need to convert right here. They have 3 timeouts. McNair hit as he throws, and the pass is pulled in. They're going to say it's a catch at the 48-yard line. They're going to say a catch and a first down by Kevin Dyson.
Dennis, you were talking about the Baltimore Colts. Well, this looks a lot like Raymond Berry, doesn't it? Watch Dyson on the outside, leaning out of bounds and keeping his feet inbounds, or does he? That right foot is not in bounds.
Well, it has to be stopped. If play's going to be stopped, it has to be stopped upstairs, and it is, I was going to say too late, but it's not too late.
Nope.
Inside 2 minutes, it has to be stopped by the guys upstairs. They buzz down, and Bernie has been buzzed.
Well, they're going to see if he had the ball and both feet in, but I don't think he had that right foot in.
They came very close to being able to get the snap off. You can see how close Fisher is.
The catch at the sideline.
Nope.
Now it will be 4th and 10 if they rule it no catch.
It's a dicey one.
That was a 3rd and 10, so it's either a first down or a 4th and 10, and of course they'd be compelled to go for it.
You don't think he could have dragged that foot out?
I don't think so.
No.
Foot's too high in the air.
You know, if he had both feet off the ground and was pushed, then you'd have a better argument for being pushed out of bounds. And if you look at it in real time, you can see why the official called it a catch. That's Dale Hamer. He's getting a lot of action tonight.
After reviewing the play, it is a catch. First down.
Well, again, it's one of those things where you call it one way and you have to have conclusive evidence to overturn it.
It would be nice to know if they were considering the fact that he might have been pushed out.
Yeah, we wish we would have heard a little bit more.
And it certainly wasn't, obviously, an airtight case for overturning at this point in the game.
It's one of those things that's so close. If they had ruled it incomplete, they probably wouldn't have overturned that. 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line now with all 3 timeouts, keeping the drive alive. McNair throws over the middle. It's caught by Mason at the Baltimore 45-yard line. He's tackled at the 40-yard line.
We've seen a lot of gutty efforts tonight. Mason is back down on the ground. Remember, he limped off the field with an ankle injury. He's been fighting that high ankle sprain as well, as has McNair and George. but to be able to come back in the game and have the mental strength to block out pain and to make a play like this. Watch him on the crossing route. He's not satisfied with making the catch. He's looking for big yardage here. Makes that cut there, and the ankle just goes. And who goes on top of him? Number 52.
Normally this could be an injury timeout, but in the last 2 minutes you're charged with it. So Tennessee has to use its first timeout. It'll be first down and 10 at the 40-yard line when play resumes.
Here's what you need to know about players in the NFL. We might see this guy again before the end of the game.
Yeah. We'll definitely see him more. How can we not?
The Goose is his own double team.
First out of the 41-yard line now with 2 timeouts for the Tennessee Titans, and McNair out of the shotgun. Bennett makes the catch, stays in bounds though at the 36-yard line. He gets tackled inbounds.
Well, yeah, I just hate that rule. I mean, he makes that catch and gets pushed out of bounds going backwards, so they don't give him the timeout for going out of bounds. Punish the receiver with that call.
Second down and 4. McNair going deep for Dyson, but too deep. Dyson bracketed it, and there's a flag down.
I think they're going to call roughing the passer against the Ravens.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, 99, hitting the quarterback low from behind, additional 15 yards from the end.
Oh boy.
First down.
Mike McCrary.
We talked about how he's a non-stop player. He'll scrap and fight, and I'm not so sure about that call. They say he went too low on him, but he hit him above the knee and slid down to below the knee. That's a ticky-tack call on McCrary.
Here's our boy Mason back in the game. At the 19-yard line, out of the slot he operates. First down. McNair throwing over the middle. It's caught at the 11-yard line, and McNair takes a timeout. Eddie George makes the catch. They'll spot the ball at the 12. 39 seconds left. Tennessee takes its second timeout.
I don't know what the refs expect from a guy like McCrary in that situation. I mean, you're right, Dan. He took him up on the thigh. It's like, what are you, crouching tagger, hidden dragon out of this? Or?
Well, and watch the effort. You know, the ball is gone. That's clear. But there was no malice. He has the ability to get up in the air. He was a volleyball player in high school. He's going to be working out of the slot here.
Second and 2. Four-man rush, and McNair has to throw it halfway to Chattanooga.
I thought he was a volleyballer, Dan. I didn't even see him go up for it.
Rob Burnett put the pressure on that time. Third down and 2 with 33 seconds remaining.
And Rob Burnett's hobbling off the field because he's got a cramp. But he's not going to cost his team a timeout.
33 seconds. From the 12. Everybody out into the pattern. And then the pass is caught at the 6-yard line by Mason. It's first and goal, and McNair takes his final timeout.
Well, not only does Mason reappear, yet another gutsy play, fighting for the extra yard.
And he's limping again. What a heck of an effort by Derek Mason. We saw the zone route before. This is an option route by Mason. He's got to read the coverage on the run and decide whether he's going to cut to the inside or just set down. He sees the bracketed coverage by Lake and Woodson, makes the catch, but does he fumble? Ravens thought they pulled this one loose. He's trying to struggle and get more yardage. Boy, that's close to being a fumble there. They may have said his forward progress was stopped, and that's why they blew the whistle.
Talk about a sales reel for the league, though. You got a guy limping off this field after every play, man.
He has 12 catches tonight. He had 14 catches all season coming into the game. The ball's at the 6. Don't tell me this game is going to end with Dyson reaching for the end zone and coming up a yard shy. This is like the final drive in the Super Bowl. 1st and goal from the 6. McNair throws that one away with 20 ticks left.
And I'm not so sure he wanted to throw that one away, Al. He looked down as soon as he let that go. He had Bennett. He knew he wanted to put the ball up high, but not that high.
Well, it seemed like we were having finishes every game last year. This is our first one.
You know, by putting Mason back in the game now, he's going to draw coverage. The Ravens have got to double him whether he can run full speed or not.
Area slotted to the left again. 2nd down and goal from the gun. From the 6. McNair throwing into the end zone and knocked down by Dwayne Starks.
Yet another man who got carted off the field with his eyes rolling back into his head early in the game, in to make a key play.
Bennett was working the back of the end zone, and Starks came off his man. Watch from the right side of the screen. Starks is going to come in here and make a play. As McNair scrambles, Starks keeps his eye on the quarterback and almost came up with that one.
So now it's 3rd and goal from the 6. McNair to the goal line, and it is Dyson, but he doesn't get in. Inside the 1. Will McNair try to sneak it in? Yes, he will. But there's a flag down. They may not have been set at the line of scrimmage. The head linesman throws the flag. They try to get the play off before the gun. The clock showing all zeros. Were they set?
Are you kidding?
Baltimore wasn't set. They were in the neutral zone. What a heads-up play by McNair. The Ravens thought he was going to kill the clock with a spike.
Dano, he got your message about getting up there and not snapping it off real quick. He heard you earlier.
Meanwhile, the Titans start to walk off the field. There's something called the extra point, even if it is a touchdown. Offside defense declined. Some of the Titans were running back to the locker room. Boulware is pleading. He's down genuflecting in front of Kukar. But now it's up to Nedney to win the game.
If they only had 5 seconds in the Super Bowl, they might have won that one.
Oh, that was a guts drive. There were 5 instances on that drive where it could have stopped short.
Dyson on the outside, a very similar route to the one in the Super Bowl. He gets stopped at the 1-yard line. Watch the clock tick down here now. McNair knows he's got to get things going. And behind Bruce Matthews scores. Ravens clearly were in the neutral zone.
With a situation that I am not sure is reviewable in terms of the formation.
Well, we're being told they are looking at it upstairs. Clearly the Ravens are in the neutral zone as Boulware jumps across as the ball is being snapped. And equally as clear is the Ravens, or the Titans rather, do not have 7 men on the line of scrimmage as they must have.
All right, for everybody's attention, on a play of this magnitude, what happened when the defender is offside, trying to get back and makes contact with the man. It is offside, but the contact kills the play. We will penalize the defense half the distance to the goal. There will be an untimed down, first down.
An untimed down, and so they don't even go back to the formation and what should have been a penalty against Tennessee.
Here's the contact right here that Bernie Kukar is talking about. Appears to be Peter Boulware. Makes contact as the ball is snapped. And we will have one more play. And you just got to give it your best shot.
Isn't this the exact scenario McNair had against Jacksonville last week? Sneak it in here?
Well, he did last week. There's Boulware jumping over, making contact. McNair did score on a quarterback sneak to beat the Jaguars last week. Last play of the game. Thought he did it right there.
So the delay, as you can see, now has taken 5 minutes. Kukar began that oral summation with a play of this magnitude, I'll say. Not just this game, but I mean, this is in effect Tennessee's season.
Yep.
I mean, this is a gigantic game for them to go to 4-4, puts them right back in the race to 3-5 in the AFC right now with 12 teams with better records. Deep trouble.
Still breathing.
Well, there's some other, you know, at some point somebody had to have said, were there 7 guys on the line of scrimmage? Haven't heard anything about that. Which, by the way, is officially not reviewable. But they got away with it, as you can see clearly.
You know, there's something about being reviewable and then also having consultations. And there's nothing in the rule book that says that the officials can't get together, and they do get together, and this is what we got.
Well, here's your ball game. Fourth and goal. McNair tries to sneak it, and he cannot. He is stopped. He is stopped inside the 1.
That's just asking too much of Steve McNair. Big Syracuse is in there. Sam Adams, a couple of 330-pounders right in the middle. They're going to bunch it up and just stuff the middle of the line here. Nowhere to go. Now he bounces out. The reaction of Corey Harrison, Jamie Sharper, and Ray Lewis. That's why the Baltimore Ravens are defending Super Bowl champs.
And it's a pretty ugly scene as the officials made their way back into the tunnel, into their dressing room.